Change can be painful, but it can also bring hope. The kind of hope which provides new opportunities to experience joy, new opportunities to grow, and in Ashito's case, an opportunity to see the world. Ao Ashi is a football manga that I hold very dear to me, a story which I highly underestimated when I started it, and then came to the realization that it was one of the best sports mangas I had ever read. Until this day, it holds its place in my top 3. Ao Ashi follows Aoi Ashito, a third-year middle school forward from the rural prefecture of Ehime. In the first game we see him play, he scores a hat-trick and is about to help his team pull off a comeback. Well, that is until he falls for the opposing goalkeeper's rage bait and he headbutts him, getting sent off. His team is eliminated and his chance at a high school football recommendation is taken away. Despite seeming like an awful situation, that red card was probably the best thing that could ever have happened to him. While out running afterwards, Ashito comes across Tatsuya Fukuda, the youth team manager of Tokyo Esperion, who had noticed something special about him during the game. Despite Ashito having almost no care for tactics, he's able to perfectly recall the plays and movements of players across the pitch. Fukuda realizes that he stumbled across an unpolished gem and thus invites him to Tokyo Esperion's youth tryouts, offering Aoi a path to see the world stage. Initially, I had only started Ao Ashi back in 2022 because I was hyped for Blue Lock, and I wanted to see something that could kind of be like it, but the more I watched of the anime and then the more I read of the manga, I realized that they weren't alike whatsoever. Ao Ashi felt much more raw, much deeper, just more impactful, with the story constantly reaching new heights up to its end. And then I came to the unexpected realization that Ao Ashi was just better, and I had been underestimating the true level of greatness that the story could reach. Ao Ashi is amazing at everything it attempts to do. It is by far the best depiction of youth football I have ever seen as well, exploring the processes and struggles youth players face, in addition to highlighting the multitude of issues within these systems, but not just within Japan, but also in the top leagues of Europe. The story is also able to incorporate various different footballing philosophies and tactics seamlessly, in a way that's cool for those who already know about football, and interesting for those who want to learn about it. This obviously helps in creating Ao Ashi's elite level sports matches, 2 of which I specifically put within the best in the whole genre, that being Aomori Seiran and Barcelona Youth. These games are a collection of everything a sports manga should stand for. We are given hype and emotional football action, in addition to seeing character growth both in ability and emotionally. You witness firsthand the benefits from the struggles that these players have gone through, with both matches incorporating unique philosophies and having 2 great antagonists of Kitano Ren and Damien Kant. The world building is another aspect that's heavily underappreciated in this sports manga. Ao Ashi is able to present such differing yet realistic depictions of football clubs perfectly. Through Barcelona's youth team, we see the philosophy around quickly discarding players unlikely to provide large revenue, demonstrating the unique and cruel focus of the business side of football. Then, in Japan, we see the vast difference between clubs like Esperion and Aomori Seiran. Esperion demonstrates the eliteness of youth clubs, with the ability to frequently gather top talent, their ability to provide high-level training facilities, the opportunities and coaching to help guide players to the very top. While Aomori Seiran theoretically shouldn't be as strong as they are, their facilities aren't great, they are faced with constant snow and difficult weather, and yet they can still compete with these youth clubs. But their success has all to do with that harshness and irrationality that comes with playing in Aomori. They collect a strange range of players, from those who have been deemed no longer valuable at youth clubs to guaranteed future stars. Their star striker Hanada, who controversially gave up on youth football in his 3rd year to go to Aomori, explains his decision was backed by a pursuit for discomfort. That pursuit is the same for each player collected at the club. Stars like Hanada and Ren have had enough of being pampered and their development being halted, while players like Makimura, who was discarded for his height, desires to prove Esperion wrong. They are able to thrive at Aomori thanks to the harshness of the conditions in combination to their strong motivation to grow. The development of Aomori and the uniqueness of the club definitely makes it one of my favorite teams I've seen in all of sports manga, and it also strangely reminds me of Sakuragi from Days. And then we get onto the romance subplot, the second best I have seen in the whole of the sports genre, just slightly behind Rikudo. The connection between Hana and Aoi is there from the very start, and it's not messy, it's purely a warm-hearted and supportive romantic journey. Just beautiful to see, and with the amount of badly done romantic subplots in sports manga, it just feels so much better seeing this one be done perfectly. While still on the topic of things usually done badly in sports manga, conclusions can be very rushed, but Ao Ashi's isn't. Don't get me wrong, I wish there was more, and I hold out for a part 2, but it leaves off at a very good point, connecting everything back to the promise made in chapter 1. But the best thing about Ao Ashi has to be the depth and development of its characters. Ao Ashi has a large cast of characters who are great, both within Esperion and the teams they face. I'm going to speak specifically on Ashito and Akutsu though, perhaps one of the best dynamics or relationships or whatever you want to call it in all of sports manga. Ashito joins Esperion as a cocky and selfish forward from a poor family in a rural town. He plays football to score goals, only caring about the fun he has while attacking, but it's truly when he's flying the highest that he gets pulled down. Ashito is met with the fact that he must become a defender, essentially telling him that he can't experience the same joy he's always had of playing football. Although it's a hard pill to swallow, he then learns to accept it, and as he works on his defending, which let me tell you was not a walk in the park, he understands the joy of playing in this new role. I don't want to spoil too much in case you haven't read it, but this isn't the final time that he falls. It later on happens again, and Ashito is forced to rebuild himself from scratch. The beauty of Ashito's character is both in his struggle and the satisfaction of seeing his success in the end. The Ashito from Ehime didn't reach the world stage, but the Ashito who was reborn twice in Tokyo did. Just like Ryu Ichijo from B Blues, you find yourself inspired by the main character due to their undying will to change and improve. You don't only see the highs, you also see the ugly lows. Not just losing a match or a duel, but experiencing a setback so tough that you require serious evaluation. And then we get on to Akutsu. Akutsu is introduced as a very unlikable antagonist who constantly puts Ashito down. He makes fun of Ashito's financial situation in the tryouts, continuously insulting Ashito's ability and intelligence, all in an attempt to get him to drop out and go back to Ehime. Meanwhile, he himself is one of the key players in the squad, constantly being relied upon by coaches and teammates despite his terrible personality. Akutsu's hate stems from two issues which are interconnected. Firstly, he has no other option than football. We constantly see him work harder than others in the series, and although it comes off as for self-benefit, he always seeks victory for the team. He just can't afford to lose. And the second reason, which actually applies more towards his hate of Ashito, is that they are both similar but so different at the same time. Akutsu's family is not only poor, but he practically has no one in support of him. Akutsu lived at home with his single mum, but even saying that is somewhat misleading. Akutsu's mum was rarely in that apartment with him. He would just sit and rest on the crowded rubbish in their apartment, freezing. But Akutsu is then handed a lifeline by Fukuda, and while other people have somewhere else to go if it doesn't work out, Akutsu has no other option than to make it work. His attitude truly begins to shift though when he receives a letter from the hospital, and without saying too much, it allows Akutsu to move on. We witness Akutsu grow, not only into being a better person, but being a true leader on the pitch. And the game against Aomori Seiran is when we also get one of the best panels in the whole manga. We see Akutsu tell Ashito, "What a nice pair of boots," beautifully paralleling the tryouts where he mocks Ashito for the state of the boots he was wearing. I intend to make a video specifically on Akutsu, so I want to leave his character explanation more brief. I also still want this to act as a recommendation video, so I don't want to put too many spoilers in for those who haven't read the series yet. In addition to their dynamic together, Ashito also shares a strong parallel to Fukuda, and what I love about it is that it's hinted at all the way throughout the manga, but you never truly see how big the similarity is until the end. Additionally, we see a great parallel between Akutsu and Damien Kant, where Akutsu's character arc feels like it's been completed perfectly. At its core, Ao Ashi is a story about change, and the opportunities that can come from it. Almost everything that seemed like the end of the world for Ashito eventually opened up the door to something greater. And strangely enough, it was getting sent off twice that were the best things that could have ever happened to him. The first led him to Fukuda, while the second allowed him to fully grasp his new role. Being told he couldn't reach the world stage as a forward destroyed the dream he carried throughout his whole life, but it gave him the opportunity to chase that same dream as a fullback. So once again, I'll say it, change can be painful, but it can also bring hope, and for Ashito, it gave him the opportunity not just to see a broader world, but to thrive in it. Ao Ashi is in the top 3 best sports mangas I've ever read, and if you haven't done so, I highly recommend you give it a go. Read Ao Ashi.